Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this afternoon's webinar regarding flooding in the Rio Grande Valley and deep South Texas ranchlands that we're becoming more confident of as we move forward into the next 24 to 36 hours. So here's the key messages for the event. Potential for widespread flooding continues to increase. Worst case scenarios would leave 3 or more feet of water depth in poor drainage locations, and the critical timing is this evening, Monday evening, until at least noon Tuesday, a little bit later into the afternoon as you get farther east in our region towards the coast. So the overview is a combination of very high to near record levels of atmospheric moisture, similar to values that we saw at this time in 2018, will combine with a slow-moving upper-level disturbance that is crossing the border region overnight into Tuesday to produce locally prodigious rainfall totals. We believe that by the time the event-driven rains are over, we'll have 5 to 10 inches with locally 12 or more inches of rainfall when we're completed, when we get into Tuesday night towards early Wednesday. So what's happening now? Well, this morning we had a primer. Based on reports, Weslaco and nearby communities had 3 to 5 inches of rainfall, along with flooding with at least 2 feet of water depth. And some issues that we found out in some neighborhoods and the frontage road. 1 to 3 inches fell west toward Donna and east into Mercedes, La Feria, and Santa Rosa. So while this is part of the bigger event is not quite here yet. So like I said, this is priming the pump. As for the rest of the afternoon and early evening, we do expect some isolated thunderstorms that could drop a quick 1 to 2 inches of rain, but only expect minor urban flooding in poor drainage locations. Again, this is not the big event just yet, just setting the stage for it. So for this afternoon, this is your last mile to ready up your resources. So if you're in emergency management or working emergency support functions, that's high profile vehicles, swift water or flat water boats, etc., for the rapid response that we are expecting to happen later tonight and especially into Tuesday morning, which could include water rescues. And then beyond Tuesday morning and even into Wednesday, if we have areas of high standing water, we could still need those vehicles to recover people and rescue folks. So this is going to be a fairly prolonged event for a couple of days. So let's get to the timing details. First, for the upper valley and brush country. We expect organized thunderstorms to develop and move into Zapata, Jim Hogg, Starr, and Brooks County before or just after sunset. Sunset right now is about the peak of the season, meaning the solstice is nearby, so 8:45 or so. So we expect them to develop and get going a little before then or just after that. Now, torrential rains could produce 3-inch per hour rainfall rates between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m., with totals that could approach 6 to 9 inches in a reasonable worst case scenario. That means that you could get 9 inches in 3 or 4 hours, especially over hilly terrain, and that can be a problem. So should this occur, dangerous flash flooding, meaning fast moving water in hillier terrain, could quickly develop, especially in Zapata and Starr. Such flooding can sweep away vehicles, overwhelm drainage systems, overflow arroyos, and impact dozens to hundreds of homes in harm's way. If you're in Starr County and you remember what happened in Roma on March 7th into March 8th, this could be similar in more areas. So if you remember how that looked, you might be seeing more of the same come later tonight into the post-midnight hours of Tuesday. Additional flooding rains exacerbating ongoing high water could occur through mid-morning Tuesday. So water depths could reach 2 to 3 feet, including in fast flow. Now, the good news is that rains should begin tapering off between mid-morning and early afternoon Tuesday. The bad news is that fast-flowing water may continue. So this is not going to be over right away when the rains start to taper down. We think that things will get better as we get later into Tuesday night and especially Wednesday. For the lower valley to the coastal plains, meaning Cameron, Willacy, Eastern Brooks, and Kennedy County, and Hidalgo County, especially along and east of US 281 and Interstate 69C, the organized thunderstorms develop and move into the region by late evening, meaning the mid-valley and the lower valley after midnight. Torrential rains as well could produce 3-inch per hour rainfall rates between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. for the mid-valley and from midnight to 7 a.m. for the lower valley, with totals also approaching 6 to 9 inches in a reasonable worst-case scenario. Should this occur, flash flooding could quickly develop with worse conditions in poor drainage locations. Such flooding can overwhelm drainage systems and impact dozens to hundreds of homes in harm's way. So prepare for 2 to 3 feet of water depth in poor drainage locations that receive this amount of rain, and there could be up to 4 feet of water in a few of these locations, and we know where those are. For example, Frontage Road south of the McAllen Convention Center. If we get 9 inches of rain in 2 to 3 hours, we will have 4 or more feet of water in that frontage road. The flooding range will continue through at least 1 p.m. with the area sliding east, mainly east of Interstate 69E and US 77 in Cameron through Kennedy. But high standing water should continue in poor drainage locations throughout the day Tuesday. Rain should taper off during the afternoon in the mid-valley and by late afternoon, early evening in the lower valley. It does not mean we'll get the hammering rains even in the lower valley during the afternoon and evening, but it will still be raining and it may be difficult to start that recovery process until we get into the overnight, especially on Wednesday. So here's our outlook from the Weather Prediction Center. You don't see this color very often down here. We're in the red. Red is considered moderate, but let's be honest, level 3 out of 4 is pretty big. The last time we saw red was on March 27th, 2025. And you can see in here that numerous flash floods are likely in the red. The general time window, as I gave before, is mid to late evening, upper valley brush country, and overnight elsewhere for the 7 a.m. today through 7 a.m. Tuesday outlook. For tomorrow, meaning 7 a.m. Tuesday through 7 a.m. Wednesday outlook, we're still expecting numerous flash floods likely, but notice that we've shifted that area into the lower mid-valley and up towards the eastern brush country and the King Ranch, Kennedy County. Still numerous flash floods likely, but favoring the time frame here through early afternoon, again, tapering off from west to east, including in the red areas. So we think the worst of it, once again, will be from mid-evening and sunset to mid-evening, starting across the upper valley brush country, and then continuing through the early to mid-afternoon as you get farther east, including places like Port Isabel, Port Mansfield, Sarita, and South Padre Island and Bayview. So here's what the excessive rainfall risk categories mean, just a quick review. In the blue there, that thick blue line is moderate. That is the area for the next 24 hours through 7 a.m. Tuesday, but also across much of the populated area into Tuesday afternoon, especially through 1 p.m. So that's our main concern here. And let's talk about the depiction of rainfall. The reason we're mentioning this 5 to 10, locally 12 plus, is that our combination of expected values and reasonable worst case values get us into that range. So the reasonable worst case rainfall from our more trusted models that we use is between 3 and 6 inches. Not shown are some 6-inch areas here because of the color coding until 7 a.m. Tuesday, and that includes pockets across the upper valley and the ranchlands and brush country, as well as here in the mid-valley, Hidalgo, McAllen, Edinburgh, and up towards Falfurrias. That's through 7 a.m. Tuesday as a reasonable worst case. We go on to 7 a.m. Tuesday to 7 a.m. Wednesday. We're looking at very similar numbers, but higher values as we head into the lower valley. And that's that idea of tomorrow morning into early to mid-afternoon in eastern Cameron, eastern Willacy, and Kennedy County. But notice that even McAllen could still be facing some trouble when it comes to the 7 a.m. To 1 p.m. period tomorrow. Again, these values of rainfall and timing will slosh around a bit over the next 24 hours, but we wanted to get you engaged with the timing because we have improved our confidence. And when you add these numbers together for this window of time, you're talking 6 to 9 inches, locally 10, possibly up to 12 in a few spots, and that matches the first slide that we presented today. So when it comes to warnings, here are what we expect to happen. We do expect we'll be issuing several, if not a good number of flash flood warnings at the base level. The base level basically says we're looking at 2, maybe 3 feet of water depth that will encroach on some properties and flood the roadways, but not be a widespread life threat just yet. Therefore, that base warning will not ring phones unless you have an app to push the warnings to you. But we do expect to issue several considerable level threat warnings, which is the next one up, meaning 3 feet or more of water depth. Now you're talking about potential life threat to people, especially youngsters and pets, and that one will ring your phone as long as you have your government alert set to on. Then finally, we have the most catastrophic case, which is the flash flood emergency, which also will ring your phone. In March 27th of 2025, we did have at least 4, if not up to 6 flash flood emergency cases. We do expect that there will be a few flash flood emergencies in some of these locations getting the heaviest rainfall, rainfall rates, and poor drainage locations combined. How many, we just can't say yet, but we do expect that this is a reasonable situation to see some flash flood emergencies. And again, those will ring your phone too. Those mean trouble. That means swift water rescues are underway. You're looking at 4 feet or more of water in some areas. It literally can kill you if you're out there and not taking precautions. So those are the 3 types of flash flood warnings that we expect to see over the next 24 to 30 hours. And for final thoughts before we conclude and open it up for questions, wrap up your preparedness activities before sunset tonight. That includes drainage clearing, sandbag distribution, high-profile vehicle readiness, etc. Do not plan to be out on the roads if you're traveling in areas that are poor drainage tonight and tomorrow. This event could rival rainfall and rainfall rates in some locations of the populated valley and ranchlands from these events in the past: June 2018, June 2019, and March 2025. Residents should plan on staying put Tuesday and waiting until floodwaters recede in neighborhoods or roadways before venturing out. Bottom line here is, if you are planning to go into work tomorrow in the lower, mid, even the upper valley, have a rain plan. If you can telework, go ahead and do it. If you need to take the time off, do it to be safe. We really want those roads clear so that high-profile vehicles, swift water boats, and other types of boats can be out there to rescue folks and keep people safe if indeed we get to this bad situation. By Wednesday and Thursday, though, drier air will be coming in, which will increase the opportunity to recover, and it could be in some areas several days to weeks for recovery, as we have seen in past flood events that are shown here on this chart. And with that, that is the end of the presentation. I'm going to stop the recording.